So I asked the Gwent community one question. What is one tip you would give a new player? A lot of people came up with some really good answers. This is such a helpful and wonderful community. I made this video based on this, and this video is basically for new players, existing players. These are just 10 tips that would help you get better at Gwent. So here we go. If you're starting out Gwent, you've come to the right place. I'm going to give you 10 tips to improve your gameplay. Well, coming to the first tip, it's pick a faction. There are 6 factions in this game, and 4 of them have starter decks. The 6 factions are Monsters, Northern Realms, Nilfgaard, Skellige, and Scoia'tael. The 6th faction is Syndicate. Now, Skellige and Syndicate do not have starter decks, so I would recommend you to pick one of the first 4 factions, that is Monsters, Northern Realms, Scoia'tael, and Nilfgaard. When you pick up the first faction, you would get a starter deck missing 22 provisions. As you keep playing the game, you will earn something called Scraps. Scraps helps you to craft cards according to what you need, or if you have a plan of a certain type of deck, Scraps helps you to craft those cards and make your deck better. I would suggest that you stick to one faction, pick one faction, play with the starter decks, understand what those cards are and what they do. And as you get better at your own faction, as you craft new cards, replacing your old cards in your starter deck and making it much more powerful, then you move on to other factions. It would be foolish to spread your cards into other factions when you don't have one complete deck. One of the initial mistakes I was doing when I started this game was not knowing when to pass. Knowing when to pass is such a big deal, as it changes the course of the game. If you pass at the right moment, it could give you a better strategy to end up winning the game or maybe lose the game, but knowing when to pass is a very, very big deal. Now, I follow a rule where if the opponent has 5 cards and I have 6 cards and they pass, I have a rule that says if you can't make it in 2 cards, just pass. It's okay. You can have card advantage in that way. If I can't make it in 2 cards, if I can't make the points in 2 cards, I just pass. So I hope this rule kind of helps you. I see a lot of newcomers in Gwent making this mistake of not knowing when to pass. And I hope by following my if you can't do it in 2 cards rule, I hope it kind of improves your gameplay and makes you, understand the game much better. Creating decks in this game is one of the most fun things. Like when I make my own deck and I play a couple of games and I start winning, it's much more satisfying, So coming to my next point, net decking. Net decking is initially not a bad thing, as it helps a new player understand another person's deck, understand their combos, their synergy between the cards. And I would recommend a new player to go to the Play Gwent website, where there are a lot of decks posted by wonderful members in our community. You can check out their deck, see how good it is. If you like the faction, if you like the leader ability, if you like what the cards do, try to focus on building towards that one deck. When you do that, you can see other people's gameplay also and understand how the cards work between each other, understand the synergy between the cards, and it will help you much better than figuring it out by your own. There are a lot of people in this community that are willing to help new players if you just go and ask. To find other people's deck, all you gotta do is go to playgwent.com and you would see decks on the toolbar right up there. So you click on decks, it will show you all the factions starting from Skellige to Syndicate and the top deck at the current moment. So all you got to do is select your factions, select your leader ability in that faction, and just choose a deck. See what the cards do. That's it. One thing I do in my free time is watch other people's streams or videos on YouTube where they play a certain type of deck, and I watch a couple of games just to kind of understand how that deck works. Coming to my next point, watch some educational streams or videos. Now, by watching a video of another person playing a deck, you would understand the combos they are using, you would understand the way they start with the deck, the way they finish with the deck, and how the deck basically works. Some people do offer deck building advice and gives you a better understanding of what the card is and what it does and how it should be used. So watching an educational stream or video is super important initially because it helps you understand the deck better. Initially when I started, I had a lot of arrogance and negligence and I know it all kind of behavior towards the game. One thing I did not do was reading the cards. Such an important thing in this game because I used to just throw down cards without knowing what they do. So reading cards kind of came on later in the game when I actually decided on, let me listen to what people are saying, because many people did suggest and I just ignored it. So reading cards was one of the most important things that changed my whole gameplay in Gwent. One more thing that really improved my reading card ability was playing Thronebreaker, because Thronebreaker is such a game that you need to know what your cards do. Otherwise, there's no chance you're going to beat the game. After playing Thronebreaker, I did kind of improve on, this is my deck. I know what each card does. And I kind of know potential combos. So let me try it out. That was my attitude right after I finished Thronebreaker. So if I would go back in time, I would listen to all the players who kind of told me to read the cards. I'm just sorry about that. Thank you guys. After the point of reading the cards, I come to my next point, which is synergy. Understanding synergy in your deck also plays a very important role, as you would understand combos, how to play them, what cards work with each other, what to play in round 1, what to save in round 2, or what to play in round 2, and finally round 3, what you need to win. Understanding your synergy is a very important role. It's basically pre-planning. Okay, these are the cards I'm going to play in round 1. If I win, I play this in round 2. If I lose, I don't play this or I play this. It's basically planning of the deck. When you understand what your deck does, understanding the synergy is what comes next. And this is a very important thing. So to understand your synergy, also, as I said, watch other people stream to understand their combos, understand how the synergy of their deck works. When you're playing Gwent and you see your opponent playing a really powerful deck and you want to play that deck and experience how it is, what do you do next? That's where resource management comes in place. Now there are 3 resources in Gwent: ores, scraps, and meteorite powder. Now ores help you to unlock kegs, to buy kegs in the store and unlock cards. You get maximum of 5 cards per keg. Scraps directly helps you to craft the card that you require to complete your deck, and meteorite powder just makes it premium. So what you need to do is to understand how much to save, what to do when you have scraps. To create an entire deck from scratch, you need a minimum of 5,000 to a maximum of, let's say, 9,000 scraps to craft one deck. That is if you have none of the cards in that deck. Now, the more games you play, by hitting a GG, you get scraps. By opening kegs, you get scraps if you already have the cards. I would focus on saving up scraps initially. Now you need 800 scraps to craft a legendary card or a gold card. You need 200 scraps to craft an epic card or a purple card. You need 80 scraps to craft a rare card, which is blue. And you need 30 scraps to craft a common, which is white. Now, if you see a deck you like, just save that deck, and one by one, just craft the cards that you need. If you're lucky, you will get them in the respective faction keg. And that's one more thing. When you spend your ores, please buy the faction that you are currently playing. Do not, expand into other factions without knowing your faction or your first faction properly. So when you are opening kegs, please open the faction that you currently chose to start with. That will help you get the cards that you kind of need. If you're lucky, you might get the card in your keg. So understanding resources is such a big play. Just save up, keep playing games till you have enough scraps, till you have enough ores to get the cards that you need, basically. Initially, understanding the terminology of Gwent improved my gameplay. Now, I'm going to my next point, which is statuses. Statuses that are currently in Gwent are Bleeding, Bounty, Defender, Doomed, Immunity, Lock, Poison, Resilience, Rupture, Shield, Spying, Veil, and Vitality. These are a lot of statuses to currently understand. So I'm going to go with the top most used statuses in this game. Let me start with Veil. Veil, which looks like this, is basically the status that does not allow other statuses to affect the card. So if someone applies bleeding or a poison or a lock, it won't affect this card. Next comes Lock. If you have a card that has an ability of boosting by 1 every turn and somebody locks your own card, the card can no longer perform its ability of boosting. Basically, it just can't do anything. So that's what a lock does. Then we have Defender. Defender is a very interesting status. Every faction has their own Defender card. And if somebody plays a Defender card, you cannot target any other card on that row other than the Defender. So basically, a Defender is protecting the other cards on that row from being removed. Next, we have Bleeding and Vitality. These both kind of go together. Bleeding basically reduces your base power by 1 every turn, and Vitality boosts a unit every turn by 1. So if you apply Vitality on Bleeding, it cancels out, and if you apply Bleeding on Vitality, it cancels out. These two status cancel out each other. Next comes Poison. This certain status is used a lot by the Nilfgaard faction. So how a poison works is, the enemy will poison one unit and the poison symbol will show up at the bottom left of your card. Nothing happens then. But if the enemy poisons your card again, it destroys the card. So basically, poison works only if you poison the same card twice. That's the only way they remove your card. Have you ever been stuck in a round thinking, oh, what do I play now? What do I play next? What do I play in round 2? What do I play in round 3? Well, I was taught a rule early when I started playing Gwent by a fellow member of the Gwent community. A big shout out to Decode789 who told me this rule, and this rule has helped me till date playing decks, which is new to me or something new I'm trying out. This rule is called bronzes before golds. Now, bronzes before golds is such a wonderful rule because it kind of helps me to understand what to play in round 1, what to save for round 2, and what to finally play in round 3. Now, I always start out my rounds with bronzes because those are the lower powered cards compared to the golds. The golds have special abilities. If your card has a bronze border, like this, these are considered bronze cards. Bronze cards are up to 5 provisions. If they have a gold border like this, it could be an epic or a legendary card. They have a special ability with them, or they have much more power than the bronze cards. Sometimes that's not the case in certain factions, monsters. Yeah, so coming to the point, bronzes before golds. I always draw bronzes first to see what the opponent is playing, to understand what kind of deck they're playing, what could be their potential moves. This is basically just a starter card. This rule helps me a lot because when I follow this rule, I always have really good cards for round 2 and round 3, if that ever happens. If I have good cards, I have a better chance of winning the game. So, one of the best rules I follow even till date. Gwent's RNG is sometimes not in my favor. I end up having such a bad hand that I really can't play this round. I really don't know what to do, what to play. I might have really good cards which I really can't play in round 1, or I have all bronzes which I don't know what to do with them. So this next rule kind of helps me understand what to do in such rounds. It's called the rule of 7. Now the rule of 7 is basically do not pass when you have 7 cards in hand. The only exception in passing if you have 7 cards in hand is when your opponent has 6 cards. If you're 1 card ahead of them, it's okay to pass with 7 cards in hand. If you really don't know what to play in that round, just throw your bad cards. Throw what you won't need in round 2 or round 3. That is the best suggestion I would give you, to just discard the cards you really don't see a future use. If you pass having an even hand and both of y'all have 7 cards, you're basically giving your opponent the round and you guys are back at 10 and 10 cards, a full hand, and you have a potential to lose there. So yeah, just don't pass when you have 7 cards on even. I hope these tips have helped you gain a better understanding of this game. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It would help me immensely. Also, a big shout out to the awesome Gwent community for helping me with this project. I asked a lot of you and you all replied with an open heart with all wonderful suggestions. I really thank each and every one of you. This is part 1 of the video. If you feel I have missed an important tip, do leave it down in the comment section and who knows, I'll feature you in the next video. Thank you so much for the support. Take care and have an awesome day.